What we're seeing right now at the school, it's really just the tip of a historical iceberg, and the people that have come before us, before our students, really make us who we are. We have over 20,000 Anteater Engineering alumni out there, and we're really proud of our research, of course. We're a world-class research university. Some of the most cutting-edge research you can imagine happens in our labs, from firefighting drones to synthetic biology for finding cures to diseases. But all of that, it pales in comparison to the #1 product that we produce, the thing that we're the most proud of, and it's the people. It's the people that graduate from our programs and go out in the world as researchers or educators or policymakers or thought leaders or industrialists or entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter, but that is what we're ultimately all about. So at the end of the day, our alumni, that is who we are. That is why we matter to the world.
I grew up in very sort of humble beginnings in New Delhi, India. Back in the 80s, it was very hard to travel to the US. First of all, you wouldn't get a visa, and if you did, then you also had to figure out how to pay for your education. So I got the visa, and then coming to UCI, I still had no money, so I ended up finding ways that the school made it possible for me to work on campus, to do tutoring and this and that. I ended up graduating summa cum laude at the School of Engineering in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering.
So as far as my fondest memory, I'd have to say graduating. But kidding aside, I think maybe similarly, lifelong friends, community, the student life. And I will say, I hope none of you went through this experience, but I got put on academic probation. I enjoyed the partying a little too much, but got put on academic probation, and one of the counselors in the School of Engineering came alongside me and said, "Don't give up." And so for me, like, that interaction made such a positive impact.
My fondest memory at Irvine, I would say, is all the connections and the people, the friends that I met way 30 years ago, and some I still have today. There were several other engineering students. We just banded together those first 2 years, and we remained friends, and many are still friends of mine today.
I had a former student whose name is John Linnell. He received the Alumni Award a few years back. He took a course with me in computer architecture. He's a very good former student. I'm very proud of him. He's one of those students that I'm very proud of him. If you're watching this, John, I mean it. But what happened is that 2-3 years ago, his son, Alex, took the same course with me 30 years later. Exact same course. That was an amazing experience. I never thought it would happen. And so that was one of the interesting memories.
I came from a very small high school, and so when I came to UC Irvine, I was intimidated that I could keep up in math and science. And I learned that, with perseverance and studying hard, I could compete at this level. And I found that out later when I got my master's at Stanford, and I kind of had the same experience where you're wondering, can you compete with these students from MIT, from Michigan and Illinois, and I found that my education that I got at UC Irvine was just as good as their education, and with the right application of effort, I could compete at that level also.
I think any engineering degree someone should be proud of. They're not easy to get, and an engineering degree from UCI is been very good for those of us that graduated in the 90s, because the school has done an amazing job. It had an amazing group of professors then, and they became more and more well known. So those same professors that we had 20, 30 years ago, those professors have become rock stars in their industry, and our degrees have become worth more and more every day, which is great. I mean, it's awesome. Every day I go to work, my degree as an undergrad is worth more than it was the day before. So good job, UCI, for taking care of us.
I have nothing but a great degree of appreciation for two professors, Professor Stephen Ricci and Professor Michael McNally. I walked away from this campus 30 years ago knowing that I could always come back to either one of them. And even today, I can still come back to them 30 years later. That's a great feeling.
And I do have to give a shout out to National Society of Black Engineers, because we, we were very supportive of one another in that organization, and definitely, again, it's just a place where many connections remain today just from those 4 or 5 years there. And I'll just say it took me 5 years. I wasn't a 4-year engineering student. It took me 5 years, but it was well worth it.
In particular, in the School of Engineering, Professor Dunrankin, Professor Rangel, Faryar, Jabari, these are guys who believed in me. They created opportunities. I continue to honor them, continue to stay connected with them. 30 years later, I'm very thankful. They helped me develop a platform for further education. I really will always be sincerely indebted to that.
When I get to meet the current students at UCI and actually other elite universities, I'm just amazed at how much smarter they seem than I did when I was their age. And then I think a little bit about the time, is that, going to school from the late 80s to the 90s, we got engineering degrees and there was a good chance we did not own a computer. And the students today are effectively cyborgs. They were born connected to the internet. When we were learning how to use the internet, they already knew and are using technology to change the world.
This cohort, today's engineering students, they genuinely are mission driven. They want to use engineering to solve or help solve these big defining questions we're facing as a society. How do we make sure that we leave an environment for our grandkids that's not burned to the ground? How do we produce medical devices that are affordable and can get to all pockets of the world? These big questions, and it is really interesting to see that our students are really thinking of engineering as a tool to go after these bigger questions rather than as a means in itself.
I just have this great joy of watching people discover and grow. I am excited for every single student's accomplishment. And I particularly liked UCI because they seemed to understand that it wasn't the endpoint that mattered, it was the change. Every alum, I believe, are successful for exactly the right reasons, which is that they got an education that challenged them in ways to find their own development, to find their own path, to find their own success model.
I'm proud of teaching and mentoring students is that to see their success. It is really something I never envisioned when I became a professor, that their success will make me extremely proud and happy. They contributed to the society in a way I feel I'm indirectly related to what they've done.
I would say 30 years ago when we walked out of the campus, we could barely think what our life would be a year later or 2 years later. Now 30 years have gone by. Most of us, we all have accomplished a lot, but probably won't be another 30 years. Some of us may not be here. So I think it's very, very important for us to stay connected. I would say to the alumni, you have the opportunity to give back to the school that did provide benefit to you and helped you in some, even if you feel like some small way or some great way, you have the opportunity to give back to that school. Self-servingly, to the extent that you do this, it helps your industry. It helps your company. Your specific company can gain benefit from the solid engineers coming out from UC Irvine.
We appreciate alumni engagement because it's the real product, right? We say that the product is the student, but in fact, without having alumni, we don't know what that means. But we have an obligation to have made a difference in the lives of the alums. I would never ask an alum to come back and give and help the university if they didn't feel that they had received something of value from the experience at the university. And we accept criticism as well as we accept praise. But what we really are after is that every one of our alums can point to something that happened at their educational experience at UCI that made enough of a difference in their life that they want to continue to see that cycle grow.
I really feel for my fellow alums, this is a time for us to pay it forward a bit and give back to the university. I feel like UCI gave me a lot, and I'm where I'm in my life right now because of UC Irvine, and I feel like I have an obligation to give back now. But I also realize every time I interact with alumni, those same good feelings I had as an undergrad come back. I need those connections in my life now as I get older, and I really enjoy reconnecting with alumni, and I think there's a benefit to me there too, to get re-engaged with the school and my fellow classmates.
Now that the alumni, we're together now for this 30-year reunion, let's not leave it at this. Let's reconnect on a regular basis. Let's not wait another 30 years to connect. Many of the alumni, we live in Orange County. Let's connect on a regular basis, whether it's professionally or socially. Not just, how can we help each other? How can we help the alumni from the last 30 years? I think there's a lot that we can benefit from, and I think we should keep up this engagement and not just wait around for the next 30-year reunion.
I think I would repeat what one of my professors told me at UT Austin. He said, make us look great. So I hope they will do the same in terms of making us look great.